March 26th. Nancy's taken attendance. We do have a member of Verhey online today joining us. So just to remember that he's there as well. We do have a busy agenda today. If there's nothing else to, sorry, I should ask, is there anything else to add to the agenda? Seeing none, then I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Mayor Bailey, thank you.
Recognizing the addendum.
Thank you. Seconded by Member Brown. All those in favor? And that's carried. So we do, declaration of pecuniary interest, any to declare at this time? None noted. And we will start off our morning this morning with Mark Winton from Brant County White Hats to talk about auto theft prevention here in the county. Welcome, Mark.
Good morning. The White Hats are just a bit of a joke, but I mean, the White Hats are the computer experts who fight the hackers. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to address you regarding two issues that are related, both automotive and both dealing with auto theft. My bio, by the way, is on page 6 of the agenda, so we don't have to go through that, hopefully. I'm a bit of an academic mechanic, if you want to look at it that way. And I'd like to ask that we reduce auto theft in this county by forming a kind of an anti-theft clinic, or an auto clinic, or a cops and cars kind of thing, where we have people attend, say a local clean tire area, parking lot, maybe perhaps a dealer. They bring the car in and we give them some very technical advice how to set their cars to reduce auto theft. Like, for instance, the relay attacks. Relay attacks, sorry, I need to explain. There's like 3 different ways cars are stolen: relay attacks, key duplication, CAN bus attacks. They're all very technical, but the main one is the one you've all seen on TV. Somebody runs up to the front door, on videos, I should say. Somebody runs up to the front door, another one's at the car, they touch the handle, bing, they're gone in 20 seconds. That one can be eliminated. That's most cars, in fact, 9 of the top 10 of the IBC's most stolen cars can have the passive keyless system turned off. And we can simply facilitate that by having people go through this auto clinic that I'm proposing, and just like drive in, not like a car show, but more of a clinic they've done in other places, where we actually go to them, go to the driver and the owner, and explain to them how to set their car to reduce auto theft. Relay attacks make up a good third of all the attacks, some places higher. So right off the bat, we could chop that out of the thefts that occurred in this county. And of course, we can cover common myths that they might have about security. Things like, well, I thought my car had an alarm system. Well, just because it has a panic button on your remote doesn't mean your car came with an alarm system. A lot of cars don't have it. It's an optional extra. But people hear the, chirp when they lock the car, that kind of thing. They just assume these things are there. So informing people about their cars, making some settings about the car, that kind of thing, is my idea. I would act as an advisor, pro bono. I'm an independent forensic investigator, and I live in the county. So this has not got anything to do with some kind of service or product whatsoever. Just straight academic, scientific information. What else? PKI systems, yeah. And I was specifically, we would probably target with maybe some police input about which cars, that kind of thing. 3-year-old or newer cars with the passive keyless system. That's the one where you just, keep it in the purse, keep it in your pocket. You just touch the door handle. that's the ones that are being stolen. And that's the ones we target. So we have a very targeted effort at reducing theft in the county on a very technical basis. And I think that's something we could accomplish. So I'm asking, perhaps somewhere, there's also a federal program, and they love these monikers, just came out in February from the federal government, Contribution Program to Combat Serious and Organized Crime, CPC, SOC. They have some funds available for this kind of thing, I understand, so that might be a possibility that we could access that for this kind of endeavor. And the next thing is an advisory. It's vehicle privacy. Pretty much every car built after 2016 is telematics. And what I mean by that is the car has the ability, of course, to communicate all the time, everywhere, whether it's shut off or not. And you can all see it because it's that little shark fin thing on the roof of your car, a little protuberance. That thing is telematics. And it has been researched quite thoroughly. It's a known fact at this point that those things are constantly sending signals, whether you subscribe to SiriusXM or some other subscription, that thing's on, and they are collecting that data. It's having or will have repercussions. I don't know if the county or the police services have had this so far, but since it follows all these cars, they collect that data, and the plan is to use that data to sell you stuff in the future on a subscription basis. That is definitely the plan. They've publicly acknowledged this kind of thing. But when it comes to fleets, and this is the advisory part, they may be monitoring, of course they are monitoring, public employees driving public vehicles. And then a few months from now, maybe next year, maybe they already have, you see our insurance rates for the county go up a lot. And you say, well, what's going on? We didn't have any major accidents or something. And they say, well, we've got driver profiles here. They seem to be driving in very high-risk areas and spending a lot of time there. They seem to be stopping too quickly. Sometimes if they're speeding in certain areas, they will have all that data, and they will use it. You can bet on it. If they haven't already done this, they have done it. There are examples of them selling this stuff to LexisNexis and Equifax, those kind of places. They have new services now for risk assessment that they in turn sell to the insurance companies. And your car's telematics involves about 3 layers of a security breach. There's the car company itself, goes to their call center. If it's an app like SiriusXM, it goes to SiriusXM, and of course it goes to the app maker itself. So there's a lot of that. My concern is too that a lot of police vehicles, of course, have that. And I have contacts in the police world, and I've seen the cars that they're using for sometimes, I shouldn't say, but I've seen the cars. I've seen the police vehicles, and they do have that system installed. And that kind of bothers me because they are collecting that data. It is leaving the car, and it's going somewhere. And just like a few years back, you might recall, MTO employees were caught working for the Hells Angels or something, that kind of thing, and, giving information. And I don't see any difference here because your car, Ford or GM, they all have the same kind of systems, OnStar, whatever. That's going to their databases. And there's no reason why somebody couldn't work for OnStar. I mean, these are security breaches in my mind. And I wanted to bring that to the attention of the council because of the size of the fleets and things, and that might have cost repercussions. There's obviously privacy concerns with employees, etc. And that's on top of that. And that's my presentation. Just 2 things, the auto clinic and the advisory.
Sorry, Mark, can you, the auto clinic and the advisory group are the 2 requests or the 2 topics that you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. We'll open the floor for questions and discussion. Counselor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Through you. Can you just speak a little more? You spoke of the passive keyless system turn off. So does that mean that, like, you wouldn't be able to just go up to the car and it open the door? Like what?
This is an excellent example. Longtime car owner? Yes? Yeah. The system, do you have a key where you can just walk up to your car and touch the door?
I don't.
Okay, but you know of them? You've seen them?
Yep.
Okay. It's radio communications between the car and the key.
Right.
Today's cars with the system, we've had this system a long time, since 2015. The way that system works is this thing's sending out a small signal, the car sends out a small signal, and when I get close to it, because there is a distance requirement,
Right.
when I get close to that car, the two communicate. You go, hey, the key's here. And then you just touch the car and you're in, and you touch the start button and you're gone. That's a passive keyless entry system. It's on every vehicle you can buy today. This, with the key and the remote, that's a different system. Why they call it passive keyless entry when you actually have to touch the car is beyond me. This is the auto world. You actually have to touch something, but they call it passive keyless entry, short form's PKE. That's the one where you see videos where kids run up to the front door, one at the door, one at the car. They look at each other. They've got little cell phone devices or something similar. They touch the door opens, they're gone. What they did and how it works, that theft type, is the kids have special devices that have come way down in price where they boost the car's signal, which is only limited to about a meter. They boost it to the guy at the door. Just boost it. They don't have to unencrypt anything and all that stuff. They just boost it to the guy at the door. He boosts it another 30 feet, and it can go over 100 to where the key is. Boosts the signal back, boosts the signal over to this guy, and the car thinks the key's right there. It's that simple. 20 seconds.
Right. No, and I appreciate that, but where I'm going here is the fact that some of the key fobs, they don't have the little key on them. So if you disable the passive key system, how do you get in your car?
Okay. All passive keys, if you look closely, do have an emergency mechanical key built in. It's there. So all keys have a mechanical key. It's just kind of hidden on the new ones. You just have to do a little click and out it comes. So you can have a mechanical key, you have it. Now, the second thing with this system, some cars, like the Toyotas, the one on the top of the list, you can actually put the key to sleep by pushing a couple buttons. And if you put the key to sleep, this boosting thing just can't work. There's no signal to boost. And they can undo their key in a minute by simply pushing a button. And all Toyota owners need to know this. In our county anyway. They need to know it nationwide, but in this county, yeah, for sure. Not every car manufacturer is identical. You can't do exactly the same procedure on a Toyota as you could a Subaru, which also does it, or a Land Rover and a bunch of other cars, but not all of them do it. You can't put your key to sleep on all of these. Some of the other manufacturers, you go to the car setting, you go to the screen, you go to vehicle settings, and then down below, it says passive. And it will turn the car off from searching for the key. Again, turns off that signal, none of this boosting relay attack stuff. And relay attacks are about a third, some cases as high as 50, depending on what area you are in, of the amount of ways the cars are stolen. And just simply telling people at an auto clinic what I just told you, or, hey, give me your key, watch this. They're surprised, but it works.
Thank you.
And it's not the kind of information that's getting out there. Because primarily, the police are very concerned and focused on organized crime, which this is an organized crime issue. But not stopping the cars from leaving the parking lot in the first place is probably a good idea.
Mayor Bailey?
Well, thank you for your presentation. I'm very confused as to what you're talking about, but I'm sure you know exactly what you're talking about. Whose responsibility would you think that would be? Should that be taught at the dealership when you buy a car? Should they show you how your key works and how you can enable things and things like that? Or do you think it should be coming from a police services board or the police or a dealership? Who do you think should be bringing that message forward for the county?
As the IBC, Insurance Bureau of Canada said, this is a whole system approach, or a whole, a layered approach where everybody's involved. To be very honest about this, I know the car companies. I've been following them for 42 years. I'm a student of automotive history. They're not, they are aware, of course, of what I've told you. This is not a hacking trick or anything like that. If you own a Toyota, for instance, you could go to the manual and look this up. It's 500 pages. And as a teacher, I can tell you, my students didn't like reading long books. And that goes for most of the general public. So it's in the manual. It's not under how to prevent theft. It's under how you extend the battery life of your remote. Because it shuts the remote off, it saves the remote battery. And one of the common complaints about car remotes is they go dead, the battery. My car, I can't get in my car, that kind of thing. So it is in the manual. The information is there. Now you think, and I know where you got this from, since Toyota is like #1 with relay attack thefts, the RX 350s, the Toyota Highlanders, they're all on the list there. You would think that Toyota would put a giant sign on the front of the car. Hey, if you want to reduce at least the relay attack part, do this with your key. They don't. They could. Toyota tomorrow, if they wanted to help out, could put out a customer improvement campaign and mail all owners of this particular way of reducing a possible attack. But they don't. Nobody's been asking them to, as far as I can tell, either. I was just at the Auto Summit, Theft Summit in Mississauga, 2024, last week on the, what day was it, the 20th? Met a lot of people, their insurance, police agencies, of course, and politicians. And I did notice one significant thing. There's absolutely no cybersecurity experts, no computer experts, no automotive technical people of any kind. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but they're lacking a certain level of expertise that they probably should have. In my mind, if you go to a COVID conference, you probably want a scientist or two there about pharmacology, not just a bunch of, health professionals and, other interested parties.
Thank you.
Inspector Quenville.
Through you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Whitten, for your presentation. I wonder, have you done any community surveys to see if there's even a need for this? Are the people in the community looking for something like this, or is this just something that you have identified as a community need?
Yes, my primary, very good question. My primary area of identification of issues such as this is a website, a YouTube channel, they call it, that's called Car Questions, that I run and operate as a advocacy and public service. It has something like 52,000 subscribers, 24 million views. I get a lot of questions every week about car theft, I can tell you, a lot. So I can understand that, what their perception is of auto theft and at what level they are as a learner as far as, changing settings on their car. And being a tech teacher, a retired one, I know the best way to get through to somebody is hands-on. Why I am proposing the auto clinic, where we're there, we show them, we have them do the settings, that kind of thing. That tends to stick with people. But to answer your question about the, how do I know any of this is going on, or what people's questions are, I have hundreds of questions every couple days on this that I answer. I make some videos on it. I have a video on that Car Questions site that shows you how to do the Toyota trick. It's a little on the dramatic side. I call it Toyota Secret, but I mean, that's a YouTube kind of thing. Try to get the people interested in it. So the use of social media has been my primary source of learning of the need for this kind of thing. And it's also a primary source, a very good one, for learning about any type. I was surprised, actually, at the Auto Theft Summit that some of these people seem unaware that YouTube even exists, although like 800 million people go to it a day. They were, we don't want to mention which kinds of auto theft, the ways they're attacking the car. It's all over the internet, all over YouTube. There's three main ways: they duplicate a key, they do CAN bus sniffing and CAN bus fuzzing, and they do the relay attacks. It's well explained publicly and has been for years, but they seem to be a little, maybe reluctant to use social media.
No, that's fair. Thank you. I just raise it only because in the data analysis that we did over the past year, 46% of our stolen vehicles were as a result of people leaving their keys in the car. So really, that certainly makes some of the information you're wanting to share irrelevant if they won't even take their keys into the residence. So I just flagged that for you as a state of the community in terms of awareness of theft of motor vehicles. So thank you for your information today.
Yes, thank you. No, that applies to homes as well. Break-ins. I'm well aware of the unlock thing. I'm speaking of the high-dollar cars that are being exported that are $50,000 plus. This doesn't really involve any of these older cars, but yes, theft is a matter of locking your door. That's always good advice. But that advice is getting out there. It's in the pamphlets produced and available from the OPP. All that stuff is out there now. I'm kind of advocating for a bit more of a technical approach.
Councilor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Can you just did you say that the site was, is it Car Question? Is that what you said?
Yes, it's on the page number 6. On my bio, you'll see Car Questions YouTube channel. If you go to the YouTube webpage and you simply type in Car Questions, you'll see my face.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for your presentation today. I guess we'll discuss and figure out our next steps. And I don't know that we've talked about this too much, so I think we need to discuss it as a group and then figure out who that will lie with if we proceed with anything. And Nancy or someone, I'm assuming, would be responding back to you with, yeah. Thank you very much. Mayor Bailey?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to just receive his information. Seeking a seconder.
Second that motion. Councilor Pierce, all in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, so for now then, let's carry on with the agenda. We have our minutes from our February 29th meeting. Thank you. In your package, if there's no errors or omissions, we will seek a motion then to approve those minutes. Member Brown? Did you have your hand up there, Member Verhey? Yes, okay, seconded, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the minutes? Thank you very much. Any business arising from the minutes that won't be covered on the agenda at some point here today? Okay, seeing none. Let's move right into then the Detachment Commander's Report, item 7.1.
Good morning and thank you, Madam Chair. I'll get right into the report. There were no staffing changes in February. We did receive one new public complaint that has already been closed off by OIPRD. In terms of our community safety and well-being team, our community mobilization officer reports that there were 28 mental health related calls for the month of February, and our MCERT worker responded to 10 of the crisis calls. Several of the mental health calls were with people already connected to services here in the county. Of the 28 mental health calls, 7 resulted in apprehension, and all of those 7 were admitted to the hospital. Our total time spent in the emerge was just over 36 hours for the 2 officers that would be in attendance. The range was from just over 6 hours to just over 1 hour. Mean time, just over 3 hours, times 2 officers. There were 25 domestic related incidents in the month, And we completed the last 3 sessions of the Citizen Youth Academy, ending with a certificate ceremony that both myself and Chair Haley attended. In terms of our total mental health related calls, you can see we are trending very close to what we did last year at this time, which we acknowledged was a 5-year high last year at the end of the year. Other notable items, we completed training along with victim services for 2 of our platoons on human trafficking and exploitation, and that's in relation to our victim support grant and the upcoming youth symposium that happens this week. There were also a number of traffic paid duties completed in relation to the CSP grant for radar and traffic enforcement in problem areas throughout the county. Our youth school resource officer continues to report an upward trend in the number of youth involved occurrences. Again, the first chart on the page contains the number of youth aged 12 to 17 involved in occurrences. So at 113 year to date. Year to date, the bottom chart reflects the number of youth with criminal charges in the county, and we are at 3 year to date, well ahead of the last 4 years as well. The school resource officer also reports that in the month of February, as I said, there were 53 occurrences, the outcome of which is 1 criminal charge, 1 diversion, 8 Highway Traffic Act charges, 3 instances where youth were warned, and 1 mental health apprehension. PCL Lucy continues to assist in the elementary schools, addressing bullying, online safety, and vaping. And she's also delivering the kids program to our grade 6 students at several of the Brant County elementary schools. PCL Lucy was invited by North Ward Public School to join a roundtable addressing equality and diversity to help change the culture in the school and the community. The roundtable included members from the Grand Erie District School Board, Safe Schools, and experts specializing in restorative circles and practices. PCL Lucy also worked with Masjid Balal and the Community Center on Safe and Vital Community Services grant application. The title of the project is Creating Communities Respectful of Tolerance and Diversity, Increasing Awareness about Islam and Reducing Anti-Muslim Stereotypes. The application was submitted with Masjid Balal as the main applicant and in partnership with the County of Brant, the OPP, and the Muslim Women of Brant. We're hoping to hear back this spring on whether that was a successful grant application. Our community services media officer reported very active social media this past month. A number of pre-plunge videos in preparation for our March 7th polar plunge got a lot of attention in the community and a lot of positive feedback. There were also a number of Special Olympics planning meetings, as well as numerous other posts related to traffic enforcement throughout the county. Our traffic management unit reports that for the month of February, 93 Part 1 charges were laid, 41 Part 3, and 1 criminal charge. Up until December 31st of 2023, there had only been 92 Part 3s laid in the tenure of the traffic management unit. So you can see that of having already laid 41 Part 3s in just the first couple months of the year, we're certainly tracking to be well ahead. And as we discussed at our last meeting, those are certainly the more serious traffic violations throughout the county. We had 1 Crime Stoppers tip for the month of February. Also, in terms of our noteworthies to point out, on February 11th, we were dispatched to a multi-vehicle collision. Through investigation, police determined that the at-fault driver appeared to be impaired. The driver admitted to consuming cannabis and lorazepam above his recommended dosage. The driver was transported to the detachment for standard field sobriety testing and performed poorly. The driver was arrested for impaired operation by drug and presented before a drug recognition expert officer and failed again. He was subsequently charged with impaired related driving due to drug consumption. In terms of our impaired driving related events, in the month of February, there were 3 by alcohol, 1 by drug, and 80 ride events. Year to date, 129 ride events have been conducted. In terms of our trends and actions, violent crime for February was down 18.8% compared to February of last year, down from 16 incidents to 13. Other than crimes against a person, all other categories presented a decrease. Property crime shows a decrease of just over 32% for February, down from 53 incidents to 36. And other than fraud, all other categories presented a decrease. There was no change in our drug-related crime for 2024 compared to 2023, with only 1 incident. In relation to our motor vehicle collisions, there were no roadway fatalities in February, same as previous. And personal injury collisions remained the same in February of 2024 compared to 23, with 6 incidents. Property damage collisions showed an increase of 13.6%, up from 59 incidents to 67. And overall, year to date, we are 15.8% over the February 2023 collisions. There were 3 stolen motor vehicles during this month, down from 11 in 2023. 7 recovered, which is an increase of 1 from last year. And theft from motor vehicles occurrences decreased to 2 incidents in 2024 compared to 3 in last year. Our mental health calls showed a decrease of 16.7% compared to last year. 911 calls were down this year compared to last, from 19 incidents in 2023 to 12 this year. Alarm calls remain the same as at 30, and domestic related calls also remain the same at 24. That is my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Inspector Quenneville. Wondering if, last meeting we talked about hospital wait times. Wondering if any news in that front for your team has been reached, or anything moving forward on that?
Yes, Madam Chair. So at our last meeting, I believe it was that week that I had a meeting scheduled with the hospital. We did have that meeting and did attend. So the MOU has moved to the stage of legal review. So all the involved parties have the MOU sitting with legal. So it was a very productive meeting, and there's agreement on how to move forward. I have been in contact with hospital staff as these occurrences occur, for them to shine a light on it and just provide some feedback as to why they're happening. So I can say, without the development of this committee to work on the MOU, those contacts weren't in place. So that is a forward step. So we'll continue to have those conversations as we become aware of occurrences. Even so, when the occurrences are ongoing, if we get word from our officers that they're tied up, we make efforts to connect and find out what the delay is. So communication is certainly much better than it was perhaps a year ago. So that committee will lend itself to continuing to improve that dialogue.
It sounds very encouraging indeed. I know this has been an issue that we've been monitoring for quite some time, so it's good to hear that there's some progress being made in open communications. Thank you. Any other discussion or questions at this time? Councillor Pierce.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a couple today, so that's pretty good. Page 10, when you spoke of the numerous traffic paid duties completed related to CSP grant and radar traffic enforcements, is that kind of like part of the focus patrols, or is that something separate?
Through you, Madam Chair, that would be in addition to focus patrols.
Okay.
So they would still identify areas, but with the funding from the CSP, officers would come in and work specific on the target areas, the problematic areas. So okay. It's in addition to.
Okay, thank you. And then if we go to page just a comment, I guess, on page 15 on the noteworthy events. How somebody does 143 kilometers an hour in a 60 just baffles my brain, but at any rate, enough said on that. Moving down to page 20. And this is, don't get me wrong, I think this is fantastic, but if we look at patrol hours, number of cruiser patrol hours, we're up 300 hours over last February. What's changed? Don't get me wrong, that's great, but what's changed?
Through you, Madam Chair. I would like to say that it could be in part data integrity, because certainly there's been increased conversations around service delivery model and the need to accurately reflect our work through our records management system. But also in addition to that, it is the discussions with the sergeants. We have 5 permanent sergeants, as we've discussed at previous meetings, that I think are providing clear direction, and the officers are able to get out and do that kind of work. So I think there's a number of things that are contributing to that value increasing.
Okay, no, that's great. Like that's an extra 10 hours a day, so that's fantastic. And then one final one on page 20. Where's my notes here? Page 25. Just in the foot patrol for February for the east, it's 0. Now, does that? What does the east? Is that is that Canesville? What does that entail? What area?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, it would include that area, and as well as Mount Pleasant as well, right?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there was only 4.75 in 2023, but I just wanted to confirm. So Canesville, Mount Pleasant. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chris. I just want to highlight, I guess, 2 things there. One is the, just for information, because it's a learning curve for me as well, the extra ride events that you talked about. The grant that the OPP is able to get is actually, the PSB is the signatory to, and then the county helps administer the funding for. But it's extra on top of their operational budget. So it's like a paid duty that they would come in and do. So it's extra ride events on top of the regular. I hope I'm explaining that properly. But it's extra funding that's coming into the detachment, so we can do more of those types of events. So obviously the OPP staff are getting very good at being able to apply and report on these grants, which is really important. But I just thought I'd highlight that it is us that is the signatory, because the OPP can't receive that money directly through themselves. So that's another benefit, another grant that we don't necessarily see on the budgeted policing line items through the county, because it's on top of the operational services that they provide. Just wanted to highlight that. It's important. And then the other one that you were talking about was the staffing. I guess I just wanted to comment that we always felt that getting permanent positions in place would have a good ripple effect, and I think that's what you're suggesting as well as part of that formula, is that we have consistent leadership in place in all the different positions, and we're now seeing some of the benefit of that theory, which is what we were hoping for. So that's great to hear. Member Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to the inspector. On page 15 of the report, the total number of youth-involved occurrences, I think we've discussed this before. It's alarming the last couple of years. And I'm wondering if it is possible to get stats from, say, 2018 and 2019 that predate this, because 2020 is COVID. And my, 474 and 720 is alarming. I'm wondering if the year before COVID started, if our numbers were similar. And if they are, then we're dealing, we have an anomaly because of COVID. But if they're not, if they were lower, then we've got a very significant trend that appears to be moving upwards, and may give us cause for a different alarm and maybe some different actions. So I'm wondering if it's possible, one, to get those stats maybe for the next meeting.
Yes, Madam Chair, I can provide those stats for the next meeting.
Thank you. And then the second point that I'm just wondering for clarity on the traffic management unit, we've got it broken down, you know, the current month. I'm wondering if it's possible, the first figure goes from July 2021 to the current, so we've collected them all together. I'm wondering if it's possible to break that down so that we see each year now as it progresses.
Through Madam Chair, yes, we can break that down. It initially just started that way to show the overall value of the enhancements, but certainly we can break that down annually now that it's we've got a couple years to reference.
Thank you very much.
I know we talked about this quite often, and it's a cumulative effect with the different people that have done the media relations position, but I just wanted to comment on how creative some of the social media posts have been, but also just the engagement, I think, has been really good. Whether it's a good news story or a not so good news story, I think the breadth and depth of some of the services that are being provided is important, and I think that's really getting out to a wide range of community over the social media, not just Facebook, but Instagram and Twitter as well. So I think that's good. I think it's we continue to build steam and we continue to push on that community engagement and the communication. So just wanted to acknowledge that. Any other comments or questions? I'm just making sure. Member Verhey, you were trying to didn't want to miss you. Okay. So if there's no further questions or discussion, then we will, I'll ask for a motion then to receive the detachment commander's report as information. Member Brown and Councillor Pierce, thank you very much. All those in favor? And that's carried. So we'll move into item 8.1, and I'm going to turn this over to Cindy, if needed, I guess. We have a report here with respect to the false alarm statistics. And then if there's no, I mean, this is a regular report, and then I believe later on in the communications, we'll have another discussion about the update on the changes. So this is our standard report that we receive in our packages on the false alarm statistics. So if there's no questions or no discussion at this time, we're good. Then we'll have a motion then to receive that for information as well, please. Mayor Bailey, thank you. Seconded by Member Verhey, thank you. All those in favor? All right, our next item on the agenda, 8.2, is the part that was added to our agenda. Starts on page 35 of your package. I think it's best to start with Cindy, and then we can have some discussion and go from there. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everyone. So this was sent out as an addendum yesterday. I do apologize that board members just received this. I wanted to note that there has been a lot of work and collaboration on this initiative between county staff and the OPP and a number of different parties working to fully utilize the funding available through the Community Safety and Policing Grant Local Priorities funding stream for this year. Senior county staff were approached by Inspector Quenneville early March regarding a component of the grant being the automated license plate reviewers. I'm not saying that quite right, but that were part of the original submission for the grant, but no longer required, given that provincial police have installed those on all the cruisers. So local OPP did look at the funds and identified an alternative use that would enhance services locally, and that was the purchase of an ATV unit. So I have reviewed and looked at a method to facilitate that request. County legal staff have developed a donation agreement, which is attached to the report. And through that donation agreement, the county would act as an agent to purchase the equipment. And the Police Services Board, as the receiver of the grant funds, would donate that equipment to the OPP. Following that, any expenses related to the ATV equipment would be the responsibility of OPP, not the Police Services Board or the county. So that's a high-level summary, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Cindy. So this is a situation of a use it or lose it. If we don't use the funds, then we lose the ability. We can't carry them forward into the next year. We don't need the ALPR since they're already installed. So it's to me, it's a win-win-win-win at no cost to the taxpayer or to the county or to the Police Service Board or anything of that nature. I'm sure there's lots of discussion. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to consider it. Councilor Pierce, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so just a couple of points of clarification. So we can't take these funds from year to year, but I'm just trying to confirm here, is it not 2 years of funds that or am I reading that? We're currently nearing year end 2 of 3. Okay, my apologies. So it's 98,000 a year is the whole fund. Now some of that goes to what we spoke of earlier with that CSP with the extra patrols. Is that some of that?
Through you, Madam Chair. No, there was additional monies that was directed to that. This is specific to this discussion in the ALPR, and originally it was 98,000 because it included the purchase of a vehicle, so that's not going to happen. So that's why we're only talking about the 29,000 that was specific to the ALPR.
Okay, so that kind of leads to my next question, is the fact that, you know, if we're 29,000 for this ATV, that still leaves, you know, close to 7. So we cannot use any of that other for anything else? Through you, Madam Chair?
Through you, Madam Chair. No, we're just specifically focusing on the 29K.
Okay, because I was just, where my head went there is we spoke of bicycles, and I was just wondering if it was possible to use some of that extra for a couple of bicycles, but if not, then I guess maybe we could do it next year. I'm not sure, but at any rate. So again, it's one of those things that, you know, if it seems too good to be true, it might be too good to be true, but just to confirm, if we don't use it, we lose it. I get that. And we've received approval from whoever gave this grant to use it for this purpose. There's no additional cost to OPP, no cost at all to OPP, no cost at all to Police Services Board, no cost at all to the county, taxpayers, nothing like that. How can we not, is my question here. I'm waiting for another ball to drop here if there is, but I don't know. I've read this a couple times and it doesn't seem like there's that other ball to drop. If the people who are giving the grant said it's okay to do that, I'm in.
And I think what, you know, the OPP assumes once it's transferred
Right.
over, the OPP assumes all maintenance and whatnot moving forward. So that's also not a responsibility that we would have to absorb. And then it adds a piece of equipment to the OPP team to be able to use at community events, on the trails, wherever they deem that to be. So I think that adds another element.
So just my final question here, Madam Chair, through you. This is for OPP grant detachment, right? Just to clarify.
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, it is specific to Brant. It's our grant, so it would be our asset to maintain. And just for a point of clarification, it is specific to education and awareness, and as you said, community events, but not for operations, so not for patrolling trails. It won't be marked up like our cruiser. It won't look like that. So
the air show,
yes,
fair,
yes,
all those types of events where that might be used
yes.
to get in and out of crowds and whatnot. And yeah, community engagement.
I got no further questions, Madam Chair.
No further
Thank you.
questions? Okay,
No,
great.
I'm good.
Member Brown, you had, nope, sorry, I thought I saw fingers.
No, I just think it was an excellent report and a lot of hard work went into this. I like the fact that it is the responsibility of the OPP moving forward, so there's no conflict. It's not complicated. So thanks very much.
Yeah, I echo that. I want to, I guess, just compliment Inspector Quenville for being able to stick handle all the work that she had to do to get the permissions, but also to Cindy and Allison and the team here at the county and legal to be able to creatively find ways to make this happen. I think this is a really good demonstration of the relationship that we've all built together between OPP, Police Service Board, and the county to be able to do something like this and to make it work. And yeah, there's some technicalities between county acting on as our agent. The PSB is the one that has to technically sign off, and then it is a little confusing on the paper, but I think we've got a plan if that's what the board here chooses to do today. So the question that we have today is to decide, are we prepared to enter into that donation agreement as presented in Cindy's report? I think it's pretty cut and dry in that regard. Member Brown?
I would move that we do enter into this report as written.
So you move to proceed then with the donation? Okay. Seconded by Member Verhey. Thank you. Any other discussion then? None? Okay. Well, let's call the question. All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you very much, everyone. That's great news.
Thank you, everyone.
And Cindy, please pass on our thanks to all the team that worked last minute, especially over the weekend, to kind of pull some of this stuff together. So it is appreciated. So we'll carry on then with section 9, communications. 9.1 in your package is a quarterly update from the Municipal Policing Bureau Financial Services Unit. So the county will have received $13,851.57 for the as a credit for the time period of October to December 2023 for those 2 months. And that will go, I'm assuming that's put towards the line item that police services is in. It offsets, but that's the breakdown between security checks, reports, fingerprints. Well, security checks is the bulk of that. So this eventually will be phased out, I believe. So we will take the money while we can, but it's for information. Also 9.2, just a reminder, the spring conference is June 3rd to 5th up in Collingwood. If anybody wants to join myself and Member Brown, we need to let Nancy know so that the appropriate arrangements can be made. 9.3 is the provincial offenses summary, the final statement that will then come back to the county in terms of the shared services. So we've received this statement in the past between the shared services between the City of Brantford, Six Nations, and the county through the court services. And you can see the expenses and the revenues that have come in for that. And then lastly, in 9.4, there is a report, a copy of a report that will be going to council with respect to recommendations on updating the false alarm fees and charges. I believe that is on the agenda tonight, Cindy?
Yes, it is.
So you can see the report that Cindy's prepared for that discussion tonight for council then to potentially amend those fees that we've discussed at our previous PSB meetings. And I believe that's everything in the communications. Those are just, do we need a motion to receive? Yeah, so we'll have a motion. Thank you, Mayor Bailey. Oh, sorry, Member Brown.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Cindy. I went through the alarm report, and I think, again, it's another great report. Thanks for all your work. But for clarity, If I'm a resident and I have an alarm and then it says 24 months later, so are you actually doing it 24 months or is it two clear calendar years before it resets?
Through you, Madam Chair, the intent is it would be 24 months, kind of on a rolling basis, not 2 calendar years.
Any other questions on that report then? Okay, if none, then we'll go back to the motion to receive all of those reports, 9.1 through 9.4 for information. I believe Mayor Bailey was putting that motion forward. So a seconder for that, please. Member Brown, all those in favor? And that's carried. Item 10 is other business, and that's probably just an open discussion on the next steps towards the bringing in of the Community Safety and Policing Act, which comes into effect on Monday, April 1st. I'm not sure, Cindy, did you want to open the floor for discussion and we can go from there?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, I don't have too many updates here, but was conversing with Nancy before the meeting started. And I can report that police checks for the potential appointees, letters were sent out, and we have received one back. I think we're still waiting for a couple more. So once everything comes in, the clerk will send a report to council to have, for consideration, to have those individuals fully appointed to the new board. We are waiting to hear from the province on the status of the provincial appointees. And I am working on getting an ad out with respect to the additional member. I just haven't had the capacity yet to put my head to that yet. So that hasn't quite happened. Nancy and I plan to meet in April to start kind of getting our heads around what would be required of the new board in terms of process, procedures, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's all I have for today.
So it was probably a good idea that we proactively canceled the April board meeting since we won't have everything in place. I'm not sure, Member Brown or Member Verhey, if you've heard any additional communications on the provincial appointment process, or if you have any update, you can.
The last contact I had with them was they reached out to me asking for additional information for security background checks. So we're just waiting for the same as what Cindy had said.
Okay. The other thing is, no one has heard yet what this mandatory training will look like that we have to do before we can sit as a board. That's the online module. If you remember, David Tilley mentioned that the government would be issuing for all police service board members across the province. That hasn't been released yet, so we're getting down to the fine line timeline for some. So once we have that, once we know more about that, we'll make sure that everybody can get that completed in time as well. I think we've bought ourselves a little bit of wiggle room with not having the meeting in April, and we're still well within our number of meetings that we need to have for the year anyways. Hoping that, I expect the theme of the OAPSB conference this year will also be about the CSPA implementation and training that'll be available through the OAPSB. So Member Brown and I hopefully will be able to bring back additional information on that as well. And I know that OAPSB is looking at releasing some training modules for OPP boards and municipal boards on the different things that we're going to be required to do. So we'll keep an eye out for that as well in case there's anything we can glean from that. Yeah, I guess there's nothing else. I know that on our side we have work to do to comply, but Inspector Quenville will also have work as well that she'll have to manage through that for training and through bringing things up for the CSPA requirements as well. So there's a lot happening, and there's still some regulations, I believe, to be written. So it's a moving piece that we're just all going to have to adapt and learn with as we go. Anything else on that item with the new act coming in on April 1st? Okay. We don't need a motion for. Okay, thank you. Nancy's my compass. So updates then. We'll start with council communications. Anything from Councillor Pierce that you'd like to share?
Nothing at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. I'll give you a quick update on the OAPSB Zone 4. As you know, we transitioned into that role. We held a board meeting last week. The vice chair that I was able to meet is from Ingersoll, and the Zone 4 board member is from the City of Woodstock Police Service, and there's a vacant second vice seat. But we held our board meeting with quorum, and we resolved all the outstanding banking issues, and we're moving on now to try and get prepared. There's a meeting in May. I think the rallying point for this group will be the CSPA as well, because as I mentioned to Cindy, I think there's a lot of opportunity that we can collaborate with other police service boards on information sharing, best practices. We don't need to all create all these things that we need in our own pillars or our own silos. Let's see how we can share across our contacts through other police service boards as well. We all are in the same boat, so we all need to do some of that work. So let's work together. Other than that, I'll leave it at that. That's all. That's just scratching the surface. Mayor Bailey?
Through you, Madam Chair, is there a place where we can go to find out the names of all the people that are sitting on Zone 4? Like their names and who they represent?
Like all the different communities, you mean? Like all the
Yes.
different. I've asked that same question, and as soon as I have the secretary, Kirsten from City of Hamilton, is supposed to be finding that for us, and then we can share that out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. We were asking the same thing because with the new Police Service Act, many of the communities are merging their police service boards. So who's going to be left in terms of members for each of the different zones? So we were asking some of the same things, like post April 1st, who's left and which boards have amalgamated and which haven't. Ingersoll's not amalgamating in Oxford, but some are. So it's just, yeah, so the same type of information. I think, Member Verhey, you had your hand up? Or maybe you didn't.
Yes, I did. Thank you. Just through you, Madam Chair, comment regarding the, where does this information live in terms of members? We had a OAPSB login that was shared. It's I could probably dig it up somewhere, but we were sent that link, and then you could create a password and you go in there and get all the resources as well as all the board memberships.
Thank you. We'll look for that. Okay, then just moving on, if there's nothing else on the Zone 4, I'll move on then just quickly to the chair update. One of the items that you had asked me to pursue last meeting was to reach out to our county board trustee representative, which I did, and I've been deflected. He wouldn't take my call or answer my emails. He sent me right back to Superintendent Ash. So he's asked me to contact Superintendent Ash, who we had in here to speak, and who Inspector Quenville has been communicating with already. So that is, if you wish, I will contact Superintendent Ash, but disappointed to not be able to connect with our trustee on issues. Maybe timing, I don't know. Everybody's busy, but I thought that would have been a good avenue to pursue. So I have done that. But, if you wish, I will continue with Superintendent Ash, just looking for some direction. Councillor Pierce?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Was it just a deflect, or was it, hey, I'm tied up, or try this person, or was it just a...
It was the latter. Yeah, so I communicated through email saying, can I please set up a time to either meet with you or talk to you on the phone so we can talk about some issues that I'd like to share with you. And it was, thanks, but please talk to Superintendent Ash.
Nice. Thank you.
So I did try. So I will continue to connect with Superintendent Ash, but I also don't want to, that is operational as well. So I don't know that that's my we were trying to go for, appointed people and elected people together. That's myself and, this. So I'm looking for your feedback. If you'd like me to continue pushing along, we will. I'll look for also Inspector Quenville's suggestions with the issues that you're still trying to get into the high school specifically. That's what we were trying to talk about, was the issues specific to the high school. Mr. Ash did reach out by email in response and did say, things were going really well with the pros officer, PCL Lucy. But I think specifically what we wanted to talk about was the high school, lack of access in the high school. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can tell you, since our last meeting and regrettably the incident that occurred at the high school just ahead of that meeting, there's been a marked change for the positive. I spoke to Constable Lucy as recently as this morning, and she provided very positive feedback about the ongoing interactions and how she is now being welcomed into a number of classrooms, and in fact been given a location within the school that's kind of hers to situate herself in some place where she can be on a regular basis, so students will come to know that that's where they can find her. In the matter of a month, there's been significant improvement. So perhaps with the board's approval, we could probably table the connection with the trustee, and we can see how this is going to continue to evolve, because it's headed in the right direction.
Yeah, to your point, I don't think there's a connection being made with the trustee because of the lack of communication, but I don't know that I need to pursue the staff at the Board of Education. Unfortunately, it sounds like a crisis has inspired some relationship building, which is a good news to come out of a bad situation. So maybe that's a good thing that's come out of all that. So if what I'm hearing then is maybe just pause. Let's see how this develops. And it sounds like you've made some great inroads into the high school, which is fantastic news. And we'll see how that rolls out.
Madam Chair, I just would like to acknowledge that PCL Lucy has been there despite how things were going in the beginning. She's been very persistent and has really worked on cultivating that relationship. So I'd like to just acknowledge credit to her for continuing to pursue that.
Absolutely, for sure. And, when we talk about earlier, Member Brown, raised the point about our youth interactions continuing to escalate. The importance of those relationships could never be more important, right? The interaction with positive, trusted public folks like PCL Lucy in the high school can only be a good thing. So hopefully the staff at the high school also acknowledge that and see that benefit and continue to support that. And yes, thanks to her persistence for pushing forward on that. That's great news. Other than that, I have no other additional information. It's a busy time for everybody, I'm sure. There's lots going on. I want to acknowledge Cindy's work on a number of files that we've had come up. I know that it's not always easy trying to juggle everything, but we do appreciate everything as well. And if there's nothing else, if there's no in camera today, we're able to wrap up a little bit earlier this morning to make up for some of the other times where we've gone overtime. So our next meeting won't be till we are formed as a new board, which tentatively we have for May. I guess we can't technically say our next meeting is May because we're not the ones that we will be a new board, but plan for the end of May. When with that, we will adjourn at 10 after 10. Well done. Have a great day, everybody.